Hey Robo-Man, I'm here to do the collab.
Awesome! After I saw your video on Amber from Invincible, I knew you were the perfect person for the job.
Ah, don't flatter me.
Hey, can I jump in on this too? I think Amber's character gets a little too much hate and I wanted to dispel some myths about the character.
Of course, Professor Dreadlock, the more the merrier. A video about 3 men discussing a fictional teenage girl is much better than just 2 men discussing it.
Hey Jar, you should be careful respecting MisAnthro Pony's pronouns.
I'm actually a guy.
Really? Even though you have a pony avatar and you're called Miss.
Oh no. It's a spin on the word misanthrope.
Okay, so you hate people. Meaning you're like the Joker. You just want to see the world burn.
No, yes, kind of. It's a long and complicated story.
Sorry for my roommate assuming your gender identity without checking in. I'll make sure he does better in the future. Being a YouTuber who doesn't show their face is kind of like being a superhero with a secret identity, and there's even the power dynamic. And while this might make me sound pretentious, this is merely an analogy that I'm using. But does this mean I have to tell anyone I'm dating that I'm just a robot? Because that's Amber's logic.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
People wouldn't have disliked Amber as much if Mark's friends didn't immediately side with her, even though Mark saved them plenty of times due to his hidden identity.
Mark? Shut your f***ing mouth! Shut the f*** up, you cunt!
Which was the thing that allowed him to solve their problems. Remember when stories allowed for nuance? Well, that's dead because writers have to spell out that Mark was in the wrong. What would have served the story better? Would it have been a genuine clash of ideas? Where one of his friends sides with Amber while the other one sides with Mark? That way the story could have explored both ideas, their strengths and weaknesses.
Hello, your computer has virus.
And why some people think one way while other people think another way. But sadly, the story was artificially slanted in favor of one idea over the other. But as frustrating as Amber is, Teela is somehow even more annoying. While Mark kept his secret for a few weeks to a few months, especially with it being something he really should keep secret, He-Man kept his secret identity for several years. And keeping a secret identity is fucking hard. I, as a YouTuber, want to tell people I'm just a robot, but I can't do it. Teela blows up at He-Man's parents after he recently died, which is one of the scummiest things you can do to someone after they died, just for keeping a secret from you. In my Too Many Mary Sue's video, I said this line. And the worst part is, she receives no consequences for doing this. What, are we trying to teach women that they can act like total bitches and not get slapped in the face for it?
Who you calling pinhead?
After saying that and uploading the video without taking it out, I thought I'd get cancelled. But it turns out most people agree with that. And yes, I think no matter who you are or what gender you have, if you blow up at someone's parents after their son just died, you do deserve to get smacked across the face. I have no idea why modern media, with its great potential, have these female characters who have extremely toxic reactions to men keeping secrets from them. And yes, while it is true that keeping a secret from someone is not really the greatest thing to do, but if it's something this important, then yes, it justifies keeping a secret. It's so weird to me that keeping a secret that you have an STD before and after having whoopee with someone, it's just a misdemeanor in California. But keeping a secret that helps prevent people from going after your friends and family is just despicable. I've noticed that there's been a shift in how people are trying to portray superhero tropes. Originally, you had various archetypes which each character fell into. However, this seems to have changed during the 2010s. Look at Korra from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
You're on thin ice, mister. First you get my monkey god wrong, and now you're getting Avatar wrong? All mixed up? You better watch yourself, machine head.
See?
She's strong, independent, but she doesn't put anyone down. Well, except for Zuko for the first time, but ignore that for now. She is, what I'd argue, the perfect female superhero. And yes, I count her as one. She has superhero water manipulation, and saves people with another superhero-like entity. Throughout the series, we are shown her downsides. And shockingly, when she gets onto people for no reason, it's shown as a bad thing. But more importantly, her strengths are so apparent. Despite her shortcomings, she's still likable.
Now compare this to Amber. The entire scene with her and Mark was just her lording it over him that she knew he was invincible. The story itself treats the situation as if she's right, and she's never shown to have downsides. You know, despite that being snide and generally hostile to your significant other is a pretty big downside for most people. And that's the main difference. Not that she's a woman, but because the story is artificially slanted in her favor, and a lot of her traits don't work with this angle the writers went with. Oh, and if someone tries to use the race card, yes, she was white in the comics. She was a completely different character, like how Mary Jane is different in each Spider-Man reboot. And what Teela did was way worse. Now, I haven't really watched Masters of the Universe Revelations, but I don't think I need to in order to know how terrible Teela is. Because from the clips I've looked up, her behavior is completely repulsive. I mean, first you have the scene where she blows up at everyone after her parents just found out that their son was killed. This is basically what she was saying throughout the whole scene. Yeah, your son and our hero died, but what about She's supposed to be a grown woman, but she's acting like a teenager on her first period. Granted, King Randor's reaction was cringe-inducing too, but Teela is being completely insensitive to people who are grieving and processing the information that their child and close friend just died. But if you thought that was bad, wait until you see this later scene, where she basically blows up at Adam for the unforgivable act of sacrificing himself to protect his family and the world he calls home.
Let me be angry.
Because I lied?
Yes, because you lied. And I couldn't even scream at you for it because you were gone.
I died!
Yeah, and the rest of us had to live with it.
Are you shitting me? Forget the fact that she's getting on someone's case for dying. This is how she talks to her brother after finding out he's the hero who's been fighting to protect their world?
That's She-Ra. This is Teela. This is supposed to be He-Man, but you made it seem like...
This is supposed to be the hero we have to root for? That is horseshit. There is no way they intended for someone like this to be relatable. There is nothing sympathetic about this in the slightest. What does she even mean by that? Is she saying she wished he stayed dead and is now pissed finding out he's alive after explaining what he's been doing and planning to stop the villain to save everyone again? I'm supposed to believe He-Man is to blame for Teela's feelings? Good lord. That's not even how a normal person would react to finding out their lost family member is alive. That is borderline sociopathic. Who actually cares that he wasn't telling the truth about being He-Man? He was fighting to save everyone from being enslaved by Skeletor. And all you care about is how he was lying?
No, I don't want that.
Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you. I've seen women on Tumblr who are more pleasant to be around. And on top of that, fuck you, Kevin Smith. You are shit on a dick for doing this to Teela. How in God's name do you do something like this and convince yourself you improved the character? Oh yeah, we're a bunch of angry toxic fans for being rightfully upset that you think this is what's best for the He-Man franchise. Holy shit, you are absolutely pathetic.
And now, for your listening pleasure, I present to you Professor Dreadlock in the Amber Renting Hour.
Oh, good for you!
Oh, so you're gonna try to defend Amber, eh? Well, we'll see about that.
Mark doesn't have to date Amber.
Oopsie whoopsie!
He doesn't have to be in a relationship with her at all.
Amber was the first serious relationship Mark ever had. While you can make the argument that he didn't need to date her, it's understandable as to why he wanted to be with her.
Yes, it might have been his first argument, and yes, it might be understandable why he wanted to be with her, but it doesn't justify his behavior. One of the themes of Invincible is the idea that being a superhero means sacrifice. Sacrificing a normal life for your duties, sacrificing the individual for the group, sacrificing X for Y.
Alright, I'm only gonna say this once. Stop using themes to justify bad writing. The theme of superheroes and sacrifice doesn't change the fact that Amber was a badly written character.
The fact of the matter stands that she's written humanly. She, at the end of the day, is a teenager. It's not really a case of using themes to justify bad writing. It's using themes to justify bad people in stories, because bad people exist in real life. As we can see from many scenes of the show, Amber is not a bad person. She is just a teenager who did something very bad. And so is Mark. The problem is that Mark wasn't willing to make that sacrifice. He wanted it all, to be the hero and to be with the girl he had his mind on. He might have genuinely cared about her, but if he cared about her as much as he cared about himself, he could have saved a lot of effort by deciding when he was going to tell her. Or, alternatively, if he was in a place in life where he could have a relationship in the first place. The problem is that Mark wasn't willing to make that sacrifice. He wanted it all, to be the hero and to be with the girl he had his mind on, and he wouldn't let go of that, even if it meant lying to her and leading her on again and again and again.
But Mark wasn't being disrespectful to Amber. He didn't think of her as a prop for proving he can have it all. He legitimately cared about her and made an effort to be there for her.
From his perspective, she didn't know his identity. Imagine for a second that you don't know Mark as the main character. Imagine you are in a relationship with someone who always has excuses, is constantly flaking and lying and flaking and lying, and you don't know the reason why. You don't know if there is a reason why. And in most cases that don't involve your partner being an ultra-rare superhero, there isn't a reason.
That might have been one thing, except the story wasn't written that way. The show gives us very clear reasons for why Mark couldn't make it, one of which was being brutally beaten and disemboweled by an alien anthropomorphic lion creature. And as for Mark's perspective on how she didn't know his identity, that doesn't change the fact that Amber did know about it and reacted horribly. We see things from both Mark and Amber's perspective to let us understand how they're feeling. But Amber's perspective stopped mattering the moment she revealed that she knew for weeks, and still thought he was in the wrong for preventing global disasters instead of entertaining her.
Were there reasons he couldn't keep flaking on her? Yeah, he was getting his face rearranged daily by aliens and furries. This is all the more reason why he needed to make his decision earlier. His circumstances are extraordinary, but from his perspective, Amber believed him to just be a normal teenager. This is the perspective he attempted to leave Amber in to the best of his ability. So this is the perspective we need to judge his actions by. Once again, this in no way justifies Amber's actions, given that she actually did know. He didn't have to lie, at least not more than once.
He needed more time to process the weight of revealing his secret identity to someone he didn't even know for a full year. You could make the argument that this is more Eve's fault for dropping this on Mark, but it's legitimately helpful advice for a rookie like him who was just starting out.
Mind you, I understand that people need time to process their situations, especially when things get dire in life, but common sense would dictate when not to drag loved ones through the mud. And is it so hard to just say, I've been going through a lot in life right now and I need to get it straightened out before I can date you? Is that okay? He could have given her a reason, accepted her desire to break up with him, and left it at that. From his perspective, she was only given a reason once, and that was when he ended up in the hospital. She didn't dump him because he wouldn't go with her to the soup kitchen. She dumped him because he was being a selfish liar in the relationship. Ironically, however, so was Amber. I see grown adults out here trying to rewrite the show by saying she broke up with him because he flaked, and I can't tell if they are lying or lying.
She was given a reason. Eve told her Mark was severely wounded and was in the hospital under critical condition, and she still dumped him because she thought the soup kitchen was more important than the fact that he got ran over by a bus. That's not a good reason to break up with someone at all.
Now, this in no way excuses or justifies Amber's choice to lie to him either, and I know that she's not a popular character, and people are gonna say that this is justification. Amber had the most information out of either party. She knew what his rationale for lying was, but time and time again, she chose to lie to him and feign ignorance over and over and over again, knowing that it would cause him extreme emotional distress. Sound familiar? She made him jump through physical and literal flaming hoops to see how far he would have gone to keep up the lie, how far he would have gone had she been ignorant to the truth. This is abuse. She could have told him she knew his identity and made the choice of whether to break up with him so much earlier on, but she waited until he told her. She doesn't deserve him, but he also doesn't deserve her. They were both shitty in their own ways, though I will admit the consequences of Amber's actions could have led to much more than a broken heart. And she is the more morally wrong person in the situation, but please stop treating Mark like he's a perfect little angel and practically retconning the story to make him seem like such.
I covered a lot of this already in my second video on Amber, but this is literally a list of reasons why she was in the wrong, more so than Mark. She's a giant hypocrite, chastising Mark for lying when she herself was lying. She actually thought it was necessary to keep doing this, which continuously caused stress on them both. I watched Manga Comment's video on the subject and he brings up more fair points as to what Mark was doing wrong. I'm not gonna say he was being the best boyfriend in the world, but the problem is that the show itself doesn't bother to look at both sides. It actively says it's all his fault and doesn't bother to take any of Amber's bullshit into account. This is why everyone hates her and the way the show showers her with praise, because it acts like she's innocent in all this when she clearly isn't. Even if Mark wasn't being a good boyfriend, he wasn't doing anything toxic. Amber was being a thoroughly toxic person and demonstrated toxic behavior even before they started dating. While he wasn't the best at handling the relationship, it was possible to sympathize with him because his situation was far less petty than Amber's. She's not sympathetic at all because her frustration with Mark never comes from a place of understanding, and her "looks like I'm not the only one who is being lied to" line really cements just how terrible she is. Being lied to is not in any way a healthy thing to relate to in a relationship, and it certainly shouldn't be the thing that encourages the two of you to get back together. If it wasn't for Nolan lying to Mark his entire life, she wouldn't have given 2 ounces of a shit about his responsibilities, the lives he was saving, the global disasters he prevented, or how his entire family was just torn apart by Nolan's years of deception and cold-blooded killing. She's a terrible girlfriend, a terrible person, and a terrible character no matter how you slice it.
Hi, Editor Cam here. So that was a video. A video that was like working on a cancer patient. Like at the end they were just kind of arguing, I guess. I don't know, it was really weird. But yeah. So they never really recorded a proper outro, so like, comment, subscribe, whatever. And you know, I guess just what do you think?